Hello ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, innies, outies and in-betweeners. My name's Dan. Welcome back to another PAP Reports. It's Monday, June 22nd, 2020. 5 people are said to have avoided injury in a traffic accident on Sunday afternoon involving a marked Cambridgeshire police vehicle. The incident happened on the A142 around 3:20 p.m. on Sunday 21st of June. The other vehicles involved were a Mercedes A-Class and a Ford Ranger. A spokesperson for Cambridgeshire Police said, "We are appealing for information following the collision on the A142 between Ely and Sutton this afternoon, Sunday 21st, involving a police car and 2 other vehicles. The collision happened at around 3:20 p.m. today, just after the junction with Common Road, involving a marked police car, a silver Mercedes A-Class and a grey Ford Ranger. A total of 5 people were involved in the collision, however, no serious injuries were sustained. We would like to hear from anyone who witnessed the collision, in particular anyone who may have had dashcam footage of the incident." Does anyone remember the crash a few weeks ago when a McLaren supercar hit a bridge and the police had to apologise after they tweeted mocking the driver, asking how someone could crash on a straight road in a 40-mile-an-hour zone? Well, maybe the police should remember the proverb, "Those who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones." Maybe they should have it tattooed on the very back of every police constable's hand. After Greater Manchester Police failed to act on intelligence about 2 illegal raves over the weekend of the 13th and 14th of June, which left 1 person dead, 3 stabbed and 1 woman attacked, the force put out a statement during the week that they would be policing vigorously the areas the following weekend after additional intelligence regarding more so-called illegal gatherings were to take place, including closing roads, which was said to have been agreed by Andy Burnham, the mayor. Well, after police made that statement, knowing full well the gatherings were planned, a rave was allowed to go ahead in Moss Side, where 2 men were shot dead. Quality policing there, Greater Manchester Police. It's been said that neighbours overlooking the car park where the 2 men were shot dead repeatedly called police asking them to break up the gathering. One resident said she dialed 999 3 times between 10 p.m. and 12:20, stating that the police had so many opportunities to break it up, to stop it escalating, but at the same time the community shouldn't have done it. A party in a residential car park is not appropriate. Another resident said when she called 999 she was told police were at the scene but were unable to break up the rave because there were too many people there. During a press conference, Superintendent Mark Dexter said the large number of people attending the unplanned event made it difficult for people to disperse the crowd. He said, "We did receive calls between 10 p.m. and 12 a.m. last night. A decision was taken that it would be inachievable to satisfactorily disperse the event. We had no intelligence that a serious incident could happen. Police officers were in the area, but a decision was made to not disperse the event itself. There were large numbers of people if we had to deal with a confrontation. At 1 a.m, gunshots were fired. There was a significant number of people around when it happened." I mean, that's all well and good, Mr. Dexter, but you only stated days previously that you will be dealing harshly with those trying to attend or attending such events, making claims you certainly weren't going to allow the illegal gatherings to take place. That kind of went out the window pretty quickly, didn't it? Police Scotland could be signing up traffic and litter wardens to help police sectarian parades in an attempt to bring down the cost of policing the events, according to Michael Rosie of Edinburgh University, a Scottish Government advisor. He suggests council staff such as traffic wardens and community enforcement officers could step in and take up some of the workload usually carried out by police. The idea comes after Chief Constable Ian Livingstone late last year said policing parades presented a significant challenge and was unsustainable. One march in September of last year cost the force £176,000. Mr. Rosie seems to approve of this idea and said that he would also free up strategic or operational officers to deal with trickier issues while wardens dealt with cars. Waka waka waka. Mr. Rosie seems to approve of this idea after he said that this would also free up strategic or operational officers to deal with the trickier issues while wardens dealt with cars, urging national forces to enter talks with local council on the issues. Well, I think we can see the way this is going to go. More victims of school bullying being given false delusions of authority to hold over the general public. bearing in mind that most traffic wardens and enforcement officers are all civil employees and actually have no powers anyway. A local authority spokesman said decisions about the level and type of policing required at public processions are, quite rightly, for Police Scotland, and they play an invaluable role in working with organisers during the planning of events, not just during the march itself. Police Scotland, however, gave little away about what they think of traffic wardens at marches. Assistant Chief Constable Mark Williams said, Police Scotland welcomes Dr Rose's review and the finding of the vast majority of processions, assemblies and protests are conducted, facilitated and policed with goodwill and professionalism. Police Scotland has already undertaken its own review and is committed to continuing to work closely with all those involved to implement the recommendations in the review. Excuse me. Can you imagine the ignorance and power trippery that enforcement officers would dish out if they were given the ability to help the police in these kind of events? It's bad enough as it is when you give some of these people a uniform and a job title with the word officer in it. Lincolnshire police are said to have written off a total of 20,593 crimes in 2019, including 142 rapes, marking the investigations as complete, no suspect identified. Other crimes written off include 321 sexual offences, 201 stalking and harassment cases, 51 threats to kill, 32 cases of modern slavery, over 3,000 robberies, and so on. Detective Chief Superintendent John McAdam tried to justify the amount of unsolved crimes by saying, the first priority in a case of rape is the victim's welfare and medical needs. Because of the personal violation this offence has on any victim, there are differing impacts this can have on them and whether or not they personally feel that they would want to report it to the police. To ensure that reporting to the police is not a requirement of getting medical and therapeutic support, victims have the option to self-refer to the Sexual Assault Referral Centre, gaining access to support services without any police involvement. This is of paramount importance to ensure the health and well-being of any victim is at the fore of all we do. Although fully respecting the individual choices of a victim, it is important to fully understand the level of offences and the full information picture. As such, a large number of offences are recorded anonymously to inform our information picture, but naturally this does not enable any positive police activity at the time. This process is really important to ensure victims have the trust and confidence to seek help and support, and that they are in control of what happens with their case. Which is great, but notice how he concentrated his entire excuse on the crime of rape, which I think we all can agree can in some cases be difficult to solve and prove. However, stalking and harassment or threats to kill, for example, must be made by someone known to the victim in many cases, or else how would they know they're being stalked, harassed or threatened? Liberal Democrat MP Layla Moran, who serves Oxford, West and Abingdon, says carried out a study. The study was carried out by Liberal Democrat MP Layla Moran, who serves Oxford, West and Abingdon. Her study shows 118,690 cases in East Midlands were classed as unsolved. She said it's scandalous that we're seeing so many crimes in the East Midlands that are closed without further investigation by police forces. It's imperative that the police explore every avenue and act with compassion for the victims and their families when investigating their crimes. We are seeing murders, rapes, stalking cases and serious assaults filed, nothing happening for months, if at all, and reports just gathering dust in a police filing system, all the while victims are longing for justice. It is also vital that decisions made by the police about investigations and the reasoning behind their decisions are clearly and fully communicated with victims so they do not feel that they have been left in the dark. At the moment, millions of people are left without justice and rightly angry that criminals are getting away scot-free. Ex-Northumbria Police Neighbourhood Officer, 62-year-old Ian Hales of Hebburn, South Tyneside, appeared in Newcastle Crown Court over the claims that he had sex with a vulnerable domestic violence victim and accessed police records about her without a proper policing purpose. The court heard Hales started visiting the victim for coffee breaks and they had sex on numerous occasions between January 2011 and July 2014 after they met following her interaction with the police over a domestic violence incident. The court also heard that between November 2013 and June 2014, Howes also used his position to access confidential computer records on a woman he had been ordered to have no more to do with after she reported he made her uncomfortable but had declined to make an official complaint. The judge said Miss Thomas, the victim, was effectively housebound due to a spinal injury, but there was no question about her capacity to consent to a sexual relationship, and Howes' wrongdoing was in forming the relationship with her in the first place whilst he was a police officer. Rupert Doswell, prosecuting, told the court Miss Thomas, who was in her early 40s and who has since died, reported Howes to the authorities in 2018, by which time he had already retired from the force with an unblemished record. As the force rep will always suggest to dodgy police, leave before you're fired. Mr. Doswell said Miss Thomas had multiple physical and mental problems, including brain injury and a personality disorder, and had carers to assist with her complex needs. Howes was sentenced to 18 months imprisonment, suspended for 2 years for misconduct in public office and illegally accessing records on the police database with rehabilitation requirements to be undertaken, 150 hours unpaid work, £250 fine for the computer access offence. Devon and Cornwall police have been referred to the IOPC after a video taken in mid-2019 had been released showing 35-year-old Simeon Francis, who died in police custody, accusing police of being racist and telling them he couldn't breathe during an arrest in 2019. Mr. Francis' family had released the video claiming police used excessive force at the time. However, the video appears to be of an incident that happened 10 months prior to his death, which subsequently occurred after a separate arrest by the same police force. A preliminary post-mortem was held which did not identify a cause of death for Mr. Francis. A video which I've not seen is said to show 10 police constables, 3 of which are restraining Mr. Francis and 1 apparently pressing their knee into his back. Francis' family spokesperson Desmond Jadoo said the video raises concerns of the actual treatment of Mr. Francis by Devon and Cornwall police. It has caused his family further and extreme distress during this difficult time. I'm sure it has. I'm sure that's the entire reason it's taken 11 months for the family to release the video. Let's face it, these incidents are normally posted everywhere if they are recorded, so isn't it odd that Simeon Francis or one of his family members had the video all this time without doing anything about it? In fact, I'm surprised it's taken this long for the footage to be released after the George Floyd incident. And if that was, if it was that bad, if the arrest really was racially motivated, if the police really did use excessive force, then why leave it this long to bring it up? It seems to me that with everyone being so apologetic for something their ancestors may or may not have done, everyone is being extra sensitive, and I feel that a lot of people are simply going to be claiming racism and excessive force, simply on the off chance that the police or overseers will uphold it in an attempt to redeem themselves to the BAME community. Metropolitan Police Constable Gareth Head is to appear at Basildon Magistrates Court on September the 10th, along with another defendant, a member of the public, Mr. Roden Flame, on charges of assault. An IOPC investigation was carried out following a referral from the Met Police in October 2018. The charges relate to an alleged assault of a taxi driver who received medical treatment for a broken jaw on May 28, 2018. The Crown Prosecution Service decided in February to charge PC Head and Mr. Roden Flame with racially aggravated GBH and an alternate charge of GBH. I will follow that up as and when more information comes to me. Dyfed-Powys Police Constable Jonathan Reynolds has been barred from working in law enforcement for at least 5 years over the way he detained Jamie Cruz outside the Castle Vaults pub in Newton, Powys on May 27th last year. A video that was gaining traction on social media last week showed the constable pull Cruz from the back of a police car and then push him with enough force for Cruz to stumble. A disciplinary hearing was told Reynolds discharged his incapacitant spray at close range while Cruz was in handcuffs after being arrested for being drunk and disorderly and after calling Reynolds a bold cunt. Once Cruz was arrested and taken to Newton Police Station, Reynolds was filmed on the station's CCTV pushing Cruz to the floor and shoving him into a corner of a wall, saying, "You're a cheeky fucker." Chief Constable Mark Collins said the public would be appalled at Reynolds for the force which was ruled excessive and unnecessary. The hearing at police headquarters in Carmarthen on Friday was told he had an exemplary record prior to the incident. Don't they all? Reynolds said when Crews called him a bald cunt he feared being assaulted while the lad was in handcuffs, and decided to use his parva spray at a distance of 6 to 8 inches from the detainee's face. Reynolds admitted he was aware of the harm to eyes parva can cause at short distances, but said Mr. Crews had his eyes closed because he knew the spray was coming. Reynolds also admitted to pulling Mr. Crews up from the ground by the handcuffs, but denied losing his temper. Reynolds resigned on June 12th after 10 years of service and told the hearing that he agreed he should lose his job over his actions. He'll appear at Swansea Magistrates Court on Monday 22nd of June to be sentenced for 2 counts of common assault against Mr. Crews, and that's today, and I will follow up on that.
You don't have to say anything, but may harm the defence if you don't mention when questioned something which you later learn in court. Anything you do say may be given. Mate, alright? Spray you.
You spray me? What are you doing? Arrest me!
Don't grab him like that.
You can arrest me because...
Right, move it away, please.
Arrest me because of it.
Right, come on, otherwise you're going to get sprayed. Just walk, good lad.
Spray! Spray me, boy. Oh, look at him. Oh, he's getting sprayed now.
You've been warned, mate. Say again.
Really aggressive. Really aggressive. Am I being aggressive? No.
The Metropolitan Police have referred themselves to the IOPC over a stop and search incident which apparently saw a police constable knee a man in the head. The 18-year-old man, who had been detained during an apparent weapons search in Hackney, is seen on video on the ground, and is at this point the claims that he was kneed in the head arise. Now, I do see the constable put his knee on the lad's head as he kneels down, and it looks as the constable moves he may have made contact with the lad's head again, but personally, as much as I dislike much of the police, I wouldn't exactly call it being kneed in the head. It's not exactly Sagat's Tiger Knee Crush from Street Fighter. Not that I'm condoning it, but I simply don't think this is a genuine excessive force situation compared to many that we've seen and spoken about on this very channel. And my opinion is strengthened by the fact that this incident happened in April and it's taken 2 months for the person filming to make the complaint, which you would do right away in genuine circumstances. Marcus Bennett, a Met commander, said, "I'm aware of this footage has raised concerns in the community and of course the incident should be fully investigated. Given the public interest in this matter, it is also appropriate that we voluntarily refer it to the IOPC." I think he means given the police's interest in not appearing to be racist and pandering to every claim of racism being put forward. A Met spokesman said the 18-year-old was handcuffed and placed to the floor in an attempt to mitigate any potential issues should a weapon be present. The spokesperson added each stop and search is dealt with on its own merits at the discretion of the individual officers involved, taking into account various aspects including behaviour and compliance. Another man claiming police targeted him because of the colour of his skin has come forward, and the Met's Professional Standards Department are investigating after the Jade Xavier was pinned by police and sprayed with CS gas. The incident happened in May and of course has brought much criticism with it. 3 police constables were said to have been needed to control Jade after he was detained for a search under Section 23 of the Misuse of Drugs Act, a search he is said to have resisted. Police said that a man was acting suspiciously near a vehicle, whereas Jade said he walked from his mother's front door to his brother's car parked outside and found a group of officers questioning his siblings. After approaching the car to get his mobile phone, he said he was challenged by police. The video, which for some reason I can't actually get to load, apparently shows 3 constables surrounding the man who is in handcuffs as they try to gain control of him. One constable then deploys a CS gas close to the man's face. The situation escalates as more police arrive. Surprise, surprise. Seems all incidents where police with nothing else to do turn up to incidents that don't need them, almost in some police ego thing where they feel the need to show how powerful and dominating they are, things escalate. Mr. Xavier said, "I tried to cover my eyes because they were hurting me. I then fell to the floor because I thought that was the best place to be. But whilst I was on the floor, I couldn't breathe. I said to them multiple times, I can't breathe and please don't kill me. Then when I turned to my left to gasp for some air, I was CS sprayed again within an inch of my eye." He said he believes he was placed in handcuffs because of the colour of his skin, and said, "I want justice," he said. "I don't want anybody to suffer the abuse I went through." Mr. Xavier's mother, Princess Lawrence, said, "It was very traumatic. I was petrified. It shouldn't have happened and the police need to do better and to also take responsibility." She added, "We don't have a problem with stop and search, but what we do have a problem with is the approach in certain sections of Section 60, which gives the police the power to detain you without reasonable suspicion." Now, none of us like it, but unfortunately there is little we can do. Resisting arrest, resisting a search is almost always going to end badly, and is a very stupid thing to do. I know there are people who will stick up for Mr. Xavier, and I agree, probably shouldn't have had CS gas used on him. But we have to be sensible. The police can and will use force to search if we refuse. The best thing to do is to simply let them know you're not happy with the search whilst recording the interaction. Don't resist it, but if you feel you've been hard done by, then make a complaint. Resisting arrest or a search, or resisting being detained and crying about force being used afterwards is ridiculous. The police have the power to use force, and we should all know by now they will use it. So isn't it better to get the search out of the way, even an unlawful one, and then make the complaint and walk away unscathed, rather than put yourself in a situation that could see you injured and potentially the police let off because of your resistance giving weight to their use of force. 31-year-old Lee Weir either has friends in high places or the judge is trying to set a precedent for pedos. Weir from Aberdeen had his case heard at the High Court in Edinburgh, and although Lord Uist said it was serious and disgusting abuse which deeply impacted the girl's life, the judge told the court that he was satisfied a non-custodial disposal could be made. Instead, he imposed a 2-year community payback order on Weir with 300 hours of unpaid work to be carried out, supervision order and a requirement to undertake an offender programme. The offence, which took place in 2003 or 2004 when Weir was 13 or 14, involved a 5-year-old girl. Weir's defence said he had pled guilty and accepted responsibility for his actions. She pointed to the age of Weir at the time of the abuse and said he had not come to the attention of the authorities for any further sexual offending. But it doesn't mean he hasn't done any, it just means he's not been caught doing it. She said he has become a responsible member of society, adding that Weir felt desperate sadness and regret at how he had behaved. Now, we all feel regret when we get caught out. Doesn't mean that he's reformed. The court heard that Weir was assessed as posing a low risk of sexual offending. The judge noted normally a plea of guilty to such an offence would, without question, result in prison sentence. Normally result in prison, but we'll let you off. Weir was, however, placed on the sex offenders register for 5 years. A Conservative MP has been suspended after an incident that the Muslim Council of Britain have called blatant racism. Theodora Dixon responded to a tweet about Naz Sahar, saying, "If racist Naz Sahar hates this country so much, why doesn't she go back to Pakistan?" The tweet was in response to a clip of Naz Sahar talking about her experience of poverty whilst growing up in Yorkshire. In the clip, the Labour politician, who was born in Bradford and now represents the city, spoke of her experience being palmed off to social services when she was a child, separated from her family, taken on trips to Scarborough, adding that that is what poverty is. The Muslim Council of Britain claimed the party activist had previously shared an Islamophobic conspiracy theory in response to a 2019 terror attack on a mosque in Christchurch, New Zealand, but no action had been taken against her. In a statement, the group said, Will this latest blatant racism elicit action? The party must reflect and consider why it chooses to ignore widespread concerns about its institutional Islamophobia. If a truly independent inquiry is not enacted with its recommendations implemented, there will be a drip feed of these stories for a long time to come. A Conservative Party spokesman said Theodora Dixon had been suspended pending the outcome of an investigation. Now, from what I understand, although Naz was born in Bradford, she was sent to Pakistan when she was 12 due to her mother's abusive partner, a partner Naz's mother allegedly went on to murder. Allegedly. So saying to someone, if you don't like it here, then go back to Pakistan, isn't like telling someone not from Pakistan to go back to Pakistan. Like, I'm from Essex but live in Liverpool. I get told to fuck off back to Essex all the time. I still wouldn't find it offensive if someone told me to fuck off back to another part of the country I don't even come from. In fact, if someone doesn't like it where they are, rather than bitch about it, either do something about it or, as directed, fuck off. Just because it's happened amid this whole Black Lives Matter movement doesn't make something racist just because everything else is being called racist at the moment. And I've got to say, it's getting a little tiresome hearing about how bad and ashamed we should all feel with ourselves. You will all no doubt have heard about Kari Sadala, 25-year-old terror suspect and murder suspect from the weekend's horrific attack in Reading, when multiple people were stabbed and 3 people tragically died. Well, it appears that Kari Sadala was in fact already known to counter-terrorism police, but they deemed him to be low risk. Security sources said the suspect came to the attention of the security services after they received information he had aspirations to travel abroad, potentially for terrorism. When the information was further investigated as the first stage of looking into a potential lead, no genuine threat or immediate risk was identified. No case file was opened, which would have made him a target for further investigation. Curry was initially arrested on suspicion of murder after this incident, but has since been rearrested under Section 41 of the Terrorism Act. It's been said that the police are not looking for anyone else in connection with the attack. However, let's look at their track record of their investigation into Curry in the first place. Not exactly a lot to be desired. Police are said to be starting their interviews today, with forensic teams going through any social media accounts linked to the suspect. They'll trawl every call and text message going back years, looking for contacts with extremists. Intelligence officers at MI5 will review both their open and closed case files on so-called subjects of interest. Speaking in Downing Street, Boris Johnson said, if there are lessons that we need to learn about how we handle such cases, how we handle the events leading up to such cases, then we will learn those lessons and we will not hesitate to take action when necessary. Yes, always lessons to be learned, isn't there, Bojo? Always reacting after the fact rather than proactively seems to be a theme running through the entire establishment. Artwork in the Houses of Parliament is said to be being re-evaluated, as it's said that many of the paintings and statues have a racist history and were brought with wealth from the slave trade. As I would imagine many more things were in the country. I mean, should we head on around the country, pulling down buildings, raiding artwork, destroying things that may be associated with something that happened mainly during the 18th century? Melissa Hamnett, the head of Heritage Collections and curator of works of art, said officials are looking at the presentation of the collection in light of the Black Lives Matter movement. Of course it is. Hamnett said that parliamentarians were looking at how to present the UK's involvement in exploitation throughout the collection. How about simply leaving it where it is and adding a plaque to explain that maybe this man was an 18th century politician who helped with XYZ, but also traded slaves? Or this statue depicting XYZ is thought to have been brought with money connected to the trading of slaves in the 18th century. Doesn't that make more sense than trying to hide history? I mean, let's have it right. Slavery was bad. It is bad and shouldn't have happened, or at least with our knowledge and understanding now, we know it shouldn't have happened. But does anybody really think that in the 18th century the slave traders thought, oh, this is naughty, we shouldn't be doing it, but sod it? Of course they didn't. They thought it was okay. They didn't think what they were doing was wrong. And it's only as society's evolved that we realised, and although some people resisted, most eventually agreed that it was wrong and stood by the changes to stop it. In fact, many black people wouldn't have the opportunities they do have now if they hadn't been brought out of their home countries. Let's for a moment imagine that racism still exists, but slavery was never allowed. BAME folk would likely not be permitted entry to some countries to stay or live, and would have to live their lives, say, for example, in Africa, where there is less opportunities than in other countries. BAME people wouldn't have the opportunities to be huge sports stars, huge recording artists, TV hosts, the UK's Attorney General, Secretary of State, Lord Mayor of London, and people are complaining about no opportunities and discrimination for BAME folk. I'm not for a moment suggesting that, taking people from their homeland in any way is good, and I'm certainly not condoning the behaviour of our ancestors, but surely we have to look at this whole situation in its entire context. If we were as racist as being made out, then would these people have been able to achieve what they have? And let's have it right. They were the same as everyone else, struggling and facing so-called racism, but managed to find the opportunities that many other people are saying simply don't exist. I never had half the opportunities that many people have had. I've also passed up opportunities that other people haven't. Does that make me discriminated against? I honestly think this whole movement has gotten way out of control and people are clambering over themselves to appease people. In my opinion, not because they think they've done something wrong, but to look like they're doing something right and to appease and prevent a situation that they struggle to contain. The thing is, where the BAME community and the white British communities differ is that the BAME communities will come together when they need to, whereas most of the white British communities will sit back and simply hope someone else will do it for them. Very big thank you to the channel Patreon supporters. Your support is truly appreciated, as is everybody who likes, shares and subscribes. And that's all I have for you today. Please like, share, comment and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, as I know many of you will. And until next time, stay safe, look after each other, film the police and of course other officials. Good night all. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you like the content and you'd like to help support the channel, you can do so. In the description of every video there are some links to ways that you're able to help support the channel so I can continue putting out content. If you're unable to help us in that way, hit that subscribe button up the top there. If you haven't already, become a subscriber. That is support enough. Share the videos, comment, like, it all helps. If you're looking for something else to watch, up top there is my latest video. Down the bottom there is a video that YouTube recommends for you.